Well, good morning. I'm finding my brushes. Who sometimes comes on to the stream complains that I spend more time trying to find my brushes than I do painting. Well, so I pulled out all my brushes. There's a whole pile of brushes there. Pulled them all out so I can say that I found my brushes. Excuse me. Oh, yeah, well, I must be allergic to relaxing painting with dice and dungeons. Because here it comes again. Excuse me. Yeah, the air quality changed here over the last couple of days. We had snow on the ground, and then it got warm, and then wet because all the snow melted. And so there's leaf mold all around, and I think I'm allergic to that because seems to be what happens. Anyway, yes. Let's see. It is Friday. I have the day right. On Wednesday, I closed by saying it was obvious I lost track of the days, and I thought it was Friday. But no, it was Wednesday. Today is Friday. And so I will welcome you to the Friday edition of Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. Today I'm going to continue working on the Goose with a Lute. It is a gigantic goose in terms of the scale of the Dungeons and Dragons figures that we've been using. So it's probably a dire goose. That's what they call them, right? And it's playing a lute. I don't know how this is quite happening because it's some sort of aberration, I guess, because, geese have wings and legs, right? But they don't have arms in addition to that. So I think technically it should be playing with its wings, but it's not. So, fantasy figure, whatever it is, it's what I'm painting. So I have this picture of a goose, and I've successfully painted the neck and found a glossy black for the bill and the feet, and that's where I left off on Monday. So what I'm thinking here is I'm going to use ivory as the body color, okay, the undercoat, and that'll be, this color here, and I'll use it for this bit here, which at some point I'll paint on. And then I've got 3 shades of brown that I will be making an effort to, make it look like this, probably with some sort of like dry brushing, some sort of dry brushing technique at which I am not good, to paint, to put brown on the wings and the legs, we'll see what happens. That's the only way I can think of doing this, and so I'm going to use the lightest of the 3 brown colors. Here's my shades of brown. I'll start with the lightest of them and then do a little highlighting with that, and then this darker one will go like on the tail and the base of the wings, it looks like. I can't see what the wings look like underneath, so I'm just going to say that the bottoms of the wings are going to look like the tops of the wings, because why not? Goose. In fact, the bottoms of the wings, if you're looking at it head on, are what show. The other thing about this is that there's no place, I can't use the sticky tack holder, because there's no place I can really hold it that way. I could maybe stick the tail in, but these might break. So the other thing I'll end up doing is I'm going to hold it by the tail and paint the rest of it, and then at the end, whenever that is, either today or Monday or next week sometime, I'm going to try to take as much time as I possibly can on this goose because I don't have anything else to paint at this point. So Goose it is. Let's see how it turns out. There's little details here. There's a little sack there that has to be painted some sort of color, and a little bag here that needs to be painted some sort of color. And then the loot needs to be fancy. When I look at it under the 2x magnifiers, there's a lot of little detail and stuff on it. I don't know how I'm going to pull that off. Then there's strings, that are supposed to show as strings, and I'll have to figure that out too. So this will be, after I get the body painted so it looks goosey, when I do the bags and stuff, I'm going to save the loot for last and, paint it looty. I'm thinking maybe blue color so it stands out, or red. The blue paints tend to cover better. I'd like to make it kind of glossy, maybe. That might work. Anyway, the loot, if it focuses, which it doesn't seem to focus very well. Is fairly detailed, and it's right up in front, so I'll probably spend a good deal of time on that, probably more time on that than the rest of the Goose. Well, base coating this isn't going to be very challenging, which is good because I can at least start out being kind of relaxing. I'm going to use like a larger brush just to get the paint on that. And usually what happens is after I base coat it and it looks really fine, I look at it with my magnifiers and it turns out not to be. There are, kind of difficult to reach places under the arm here. Okay. And then I've got some edges that need to be, like around the armor, that need to be kind of carefully done. So I think I'll do, the spots where the colors come together, the boundary areas. I think I'll do those first and use a tiny brush, okay, so that there's more control. And then I've got this other one. Yeah, this one has got long bristles on it that I think I can use, to reach up under the arm, that kind of thing. So here we go. I found brushes. Okay, that's just not going to work. I don't know. I think I'll just leave the Goose picture up here because the white's a good background to work against. So I charged these up to make sure that the light would work. The supplemental light here, LEDs on the front. Yep, those actually make quite a bit of difference, at least for me when I'm working and I'm trying to see things close up. There's a lot of light here in the, not studio, but just a workshop. But, it's usually not enough. My poor old weak eyes trying to focus up close. So I don't know. I'm already thinking about in what color should I paint these sacks. So I guess I don't need to worry about those till later. You're going to hear me snuffling. Like I said, the allergens exploded out here over the last couple of days. Mixing the paint. Oh, the music's working. The recording's working. Things are working today. Everything except my large print chat screen, which hasn't been working all week. And I haven't been able to figure out how to fix it because I'm not the one who set it up, so I don't know how it works. Well, I'm working on this Goose. I should probably think of something to talk about in order to fill the time. On Wednesday, I unboxed the Apollo stack, the model that goes all the way from the bottom of the shrouded area that holds the LEM, okay, up to the very tippy top of the escape hatch. And that was kind of interesting because the bag had broken open, a lot of the little parts had fallen off, and I think I got them all collected, but when they fall off, they lose their numbers, which remain on the sprue. So, yeah, that. And then I looked at the instructions, and the instructions were really the kind of instructions that are not helpful. Okay. But, at least they show which parts are supposed to go where. And I thought I was missing something. There are clear windows in the command module and also in the LEM. I couldn't find the clear parts because with models like that, usually the clear parts are molded in clear plastic, right? And come in a separate little envelope so that they don't get all scratched up. But in this case, the clear parts are actually it's just a sheet of clear plastic, really thin clear plastic like you get with some carry-out containers, actually. Oh yeah, now that I mention it, that's a good thing, because if I mess it up, I can just use some carry-out containers and there's an alternative replacement. Anyway, yeah, after looking at the instructions where it said, this is where you put the clear parts, and not having found the clear parts, and beginning to worry that maybe this model had been opened at some point in the past and that stuff was missing. Turned out that it was just a sheet of clear plastic that needed to be cut to shape. And the templates were in the instructions. That was a happy thing to find. The other thing that was a surprise is that before I really opened up the model, began looking, is that the lunar excursion module, the LEM, reaching, I love these reaching under bits through things here with the arm. That's why certain other parts of the model get painted much later, because of the certainty of slopping paint all over it. In this case, the little bag thing there got slopped on pretty well. Okay, well. Yeah, so I was saying that, the instructions talked about, showed the windows, but the windows weren't present, and then I found this plastic sheet that needs to be cut to shape, and I need to be careful not to waste the material, because there isn't too much of it. But the LEM, the bulk of the LEM was wrapped in gold foil in the original lunar excursion module. I mean, the real thing. And before I've actually even opened the model, we were talking about here in chat how cool it would be to, not paint it gold, but to actually get some gold foil to make it look like it was wrapped in gold foil, like the real thing, so that the model would look sort of like the real thing, which is the purpose of the model, right? But inside the instruction manual, lo and behold, was a sheet of gold-colored mylar to represent the gold foil. Okay. So I'm painting its fingers, which look like claws because, it's a bird, but why it has arms, like this extra appendage, I don't know. I guess, to play the lute and still have wings behind it. It's kind of like an angel, the way angels are often depicted. It's that they are, fully formed humanoids with legs and arms and hands, but then they also have wings so that they get 6 appendages. And some dragons are portrayed that way too, so this thing has 6 appendages. Anyway, I'm painting its fingers, not extremely carefully, but trying to make sure that they're covered. This ivory color as well. But because they're sort of like claws, I probably will end up painting them the glossy black that I used for its talons and its feet. But for now, there they are. And the paint got kind of over onto the lute as well, but make sure I got these covered. And that's that. Okay, I'll do the other arm here. Okay. See, I bumped the lute with the brush, attempting to get it to where I needed the paint. I do that a lot. Very carefully applying paint, but I'm not very careful getting the paint to the place I'm applying it. And that makes a little bit of a mess. That's why I need an oh button. Keep talking about that oh button until I eventually get one. The Stream Deck is... I have to get up to reach it. You probably noticed that when I get up for break and things. So it would make sense to put the oh button on the Stream Deck so that after I oh-oh'd something, like splattered paint on a place where I didn't want it, I would have to reach up over the entire workbench to reach the button on the Stream Deck, almost inevitably knocking something over, creating yet another oh-oh. So the oh button would then be called that for 2 reasons. One is that I would push it to put an oh display up on the stream. Okay. So it'd be like the oh signaling button. And the other is that it would actually cause an oh. So it would be a double oh. An indicator of an oh having happened and the cause of an oh itself. So it would definitely earn its title as oh button. Anyway, the thought was, like I said this over and over, but, repeat things, right? Why not repeat things? The purpose of the oh button would be when something happened, like I got paint all over a place I was trying to not paint, that I would say uh-oh, and then I could push the button in some sort of really fun, amusing and kind of, call it a graphic, but a illustration have Nicole make something that would represent onus. It would pop up on the screen and stay there for like, 10 seconds or something. Be kind of an amusing thing to have. Yep. Why not? There's all sorts of little fragile feathers on this and talons and stuff, so that when I drop it, there's a chance that something could break off. Like I said, I have to hold it by hand. There isn't a good spot unless I jam this into the putty, the tail. It really isn't a good spot to hold this. So there it is. I'll make those bags. I don't know. I'm thinking blue. Like the loot. Then I'll paint the loot blue and then maybe make those bags different shades of blue as well. Oh, there's a hole in the bottom here, so this is supposed to go in it. Okay, that's how it works. There's a stand. And I guess the stand hasn't been printed. I hadn't really turned this over like that before, but apparently there's a stand that goes into the bottom there to hold it. Said I would hold it by the tail. That was a lie. I'm holding it by a belt there. Okay. Trying to see where the armor ends. It's wearing armor. It's a goose playing a lute wearing armor. Yep, that's what it is. It just is. It's what I was given, so we'll just deal with that. Maybe I'll put like a blue wash on the armor. I don't know. We'll see if the blue color theme kind of carries through. I have paint down around the feet here. Use a larger brush to paint the rest of the legs and the wings. That will go faster than this little bitty brush. think the music is playing today because I am not being very chatty. Because there's an oh. Let's see. I have this nice glossy black paint here on the talons, and I got a little spot of white paint there. That means that I need to find that black paint again. We've got 3 kinds of black paint. One of them is glossy. That's the one that's on there. I have to look at the color chart and to remind me which one I need. And then at some point I will put a little dot of glossy black paint, if I remember, on top of that white spot that I just created. That was, if I had an OO button, I probably would have pushed it because of that, because that was like, oh. Actually though, I need a sigh button when it's my family's least favorite sound that I make. In word terms, it's like, really? Or it's kind of a sound, which is I can't believe that, really. I need an OO button and a button. That little spot of white there that I won't, maybe I'll remember to fix and maybe I won't, was it's like I didn't have to do that. Why? Just why? So it wasn't big enough to really warrant OO status, but it was definitely I am really annoyed that occurred. Okay, so I can finish those legs with a bigger brush. I keep saying I'm going to use the tail to hold it, and I'm actually going to have to, because I want to do the wings. Maybe I should finish the edging of these legs before I get a bigger brush out, right? I'm thinking I really should have 3 buttons. One would be the OO button, which I'd use, maybe not every stream, but, probably at least every other one. Like 50 to 60% of the time. There would be an opportunity, we'll call it that, to push the OO button. Because there was an OO that would happen, like if I went, which I was demonstrating, but I almost actually did, and messed up the whole side of the goose here. So I need the OO button, and then I need a button for the kinds of things like the tiny little dot of paint that didn't deserve an OO, but did deserve I can't believe I did that. That's so, that kind of thing. And then the third button, which I would hope would never be used. It's kind of like the thermonuclear weapon of buttons, is the major OO button, which would be used like when I knocked over my mug of coffee on workbench, which I did a couple of months ago. It didn't happen on stream, though. I knocked it over before the stream started. But that would be the kind of thing. It would be the kind of thing that would require a major OO button. So, like, the would come on screen and would last maybe 5 seconds, because it's just a... And the button might last like 10, because Nicole would come up with some sort of really amusing picture that people would have fun looking at. Maybe we'd even attach like an audio thing to it. You know, like if you go to a ball game, these little sound bites that are recorded. Maybe one of those could come out. That'd probably be way too much work to do, but you know. Or you could just leave the mic open and you could just hear me complaining about what happened during the to provoke the uh-oh. But if there were a major uh-oh, we'd probably want to, when that was pushed, you know, have a graphic on there, maybe even slightly animated or something. And it would stay on until the uh-oh was resolved. And probably would want to cut out the mic. I'd have to be sure to get to the uh-oh button, the major uh-oh button, like right away, and have it cut out the mic so that I could express my true feelings about the event. That wouldn't have to happen with just the plain old uh-oh button, because you know there's plenty of those during this stream. There's been plenty of just plain old ordinary uh-ohs. Yeah. Occasionally I'll say, you know, I'll use an expletive. Those of you who are old enough to remember Nixon's resignation, there were transcripts of his tapes. They taped he recorded stuff in his office. That was a big revelation. Nobody really in the hearing room about his impeachment, you know, the hearings about Watergate and all, which I have to say, you know, as a scandal goes, is pretty trivial nowadays. Thing like Watergate. Oh no, somebody burgled an office. It's like, yeah, so. Quickly brush a bit, getting gummy. Anyway, yeah, so there are transcripts of these tapes. That's a whole nother aside, right? You know, that somebody just asked a question, oh, did Nixon record stuff? And the guy's, whoever it was, Buchanan maybe? I forget his name exactly. Oh yeah, there's recordings. And everybody went, oh, that's news. So that was a thing. Anyway, when the transcripts of the tapes were released, Nixon apparently said naughty words. And for some reason they thought, well, you know, we shouldn't print those, at least in the version that's released. I don't know. Like, they were afraid like 10-year-olds would be reading the transcripts of the Nixon's tapes or something. I'm not sure. No, I think what they were afraid of is that people would read them on television and just read all the words, including the naughty words. So the transcripts were filled with the phrase expletive deleted. Technically, an expletive isn't a naughty word. Technically, an expletive are like sounds like oh or huh, or you know, things like that. So they not only needed to delete the naughty words, but they needed to use a euphemism to refer to the naughty words. Okay, well, I didn't get that line very good. I'm gonna have to. I got the RV paint onto where the armor is. So before I start dry brushing stuff, which will eventually happen, this base coating's been taking longer than I thought it would. Anyway, before I dry brush things, I'm going to do some touching up, like on that armor bit there, and on the claw. Start using larger brushes now. So maybe when I do when I finally get my major oops button and my button and my just regular, unmodified, no adjective attached oops button, do a Nixonian sort of thing and have it say expletive deleted. Whether or not I say an expletive, which is not really an well, that might be. I mean, I might say an expletive like "oh," or that might happen, but it's more likely that that I would actually use one of the words that were euphemistically called expletives. Something I usually don't do it actually very much at all, actually. But especially on this stream, there's no need for it, even if there is a major oops. Occasionally, I use a slightly naughty word. Anyway, yeah, just speculating about some enhancements that could be made to relaxing painting with Dyson Dungeons, and the major enhancements have to do with things that go wrong. In some ways, that's the more interesting part about relaxing painting with Dyson Dungeons is what will go wrong today. Kind of a funny thing can happen. Okay, so that's mostly base coated. I wonder if I should just keep using this brush. There's a lot of, I was thinking of using this very large one here. I mean, very large, but the problem with that is that it might not get into all the little nooks and crannies of the feathers here. So I use the smaller brush, which allows me to push the paint down into those nooks and crannies. It's a very technical term, nooks and crannies. I'm not sure which of these are nooks and which of these are crannies. People always, the phrase nooks and crannies, they're used together. I mean, hardly ever. Sometimes you just say nook, sometimes you just say cranny, but the phrase more commonly is said nooks and crannies. But until now, right here live on this stream, I never thought about the distinction between a nook and a cranny when you're talking about getting things into nooks and crannies. Maybe I'll just make something up. I'm going to say that the space between these feathers here, like here and here, these kind of open spots, okay, those are nooks. I'll just say that. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm within the context of relaxing painting today, and it might be different some other time, those are going to be the nooks. And then these all these indentations between the feathers here, I'm going to say that those are the crannies. So here, at the moment, I'm painting nooks on the edges of the wings. And then here, I'm getting paint into the crannies. So that's not necessarily, accurate in terms of the use of the words. I don't know. But since I'm painting nooks and crannies, that's it. There's a whole lot more crannies here than there are nooks. There's nooks along here. There's some nooks. Here, where these big feathers come together here. This is nooks. This is nook under my definition. This is kind of a transition thing. That it's just a straight line. I'm gonna allow that to be a continuation of the nook until I get to here, where it's definitely crannied. Okay, well, you have to talk about something. And usually what happens on Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons is if I'm talking about something, one thing will just lead to another. Just kind of off the cuff say, I'm painting nooks and crannies. And then that led to a whole exploration of what's the difference between a nook and a cranny. And the declaration, the arbitrary declaration that for purposes of this stream, these are nooks and these are crannies. So there. Now I still need to do the tops of the wings. There is a lot of this. A lot of nooks and crannies on this model. There is also more sneezing. Wow. I'm putting it in a separate well here because that stuff dries up, and I don't want this to pull up like pieces of dried paint. That just makes it messy. Tail is an awkward place to be holding it to. Oh, let's start at the end here. Let's start with these big nooks here. Why? Just variety of just doing, do something different than I did on the other parts of the wings, where I started at the body and worked out to the tip. Just to show the versatility of my painting skills is I can slap base coat paint on nooks and crannies, both from the body out to the tip of the wing and from the tip of the wing back to the body. It's pretty impressive. Shading it because frequent thing is to miss spots that would be obvious, that are obvious from one angle and totally invisible from another. Okay, well that's an angle. From the angle, and I guess technically it's an angle. the relationship of my point of view and the object is in angle, technically. Use of the word, though. Really paying attention to the angle at which you're looking. It's the direction. Anyway, that monologue isn't going to go anywhere. Let's just stop. Let's do this. I did the bottom from the body to the tip of the wings, so the top tip of the wing to the body. So we're getting variety and consistency both at the same time. Variety is different direction, the top and the bottom, and the consistency is the same direction from both wings on the bottom and both wings at the top. So there. Well, going much more quickly for a reason I'm not sure. Yeah, and the tail, the tail is going to be painted the same sort of way as the wings, which is an ivory base coat and then 2 or 3 different shades of brown, hopefully effectively dry brushed over the surface. But it's the only place I have that I can really hold this model, because there isn't any way to attach it safely to the holders that I've got. Well, there probably, there might be. There's just so many fragile things on here. Probably the safest way would be to put like an alligator clip around its neck and then stick the back of the alligator clip into the holder, because it has to be, attached to an already painted surface. Anyway, holding it by the tail seems to be working. I can, if I'm careful not to just grab a wet painted area, which is pretty easy to do. Just finding spots, dots here and there where the paint didn't go. So much detail on the print, all the feathers, the feather patterns on the feathers and stuff. Some of that's going to get lost in the layers of paint. Well, at this point, in painting the model, this is where it's like, I really wish I were better at things like dry brushing. Really wish that was almost an oops. Just not being careful with the larger brush. I have to do that color touch up anyway, and it looks like there's spots all over the place to touch up, so I'll probably do that sooner than later. The armor color, I think I used gunmetal silver or something like that. Teeny brush and put little dots of paint, replacing the misplaced ivory with the color that it should be. Okay, well, like spots on the leg I missed. I mean, not just little dots, but like little places on the legs that I didn't get to paint. Let that dry, and you can see how boring it is. While that's drying, I'm going to find the armor color so that I can do the touch up on that. And oh my, look at that. Look at the back. Okay, so there's a spot on the side of the head. Okay, that needs to, this bit here, the very distinguishing mark. Well, that's not it. That's somehow or other I managed to do that. So that gives me the suggestion that maybe what I should try to do, since I have to pull that black out now and clean that up. It's NATO black. It was kind of slightly it's not a real deep black. It's just it has a little bit of gray in it, a tiny touch. Is that I'm going to pull out the itsy bitsy brush. Pick it up, and I'm going to attempt to make that spot. Goes back of the head here. Chin. Chin. Yeah, it wraps around the bottom of the chin over to the other side. Okay, so the reason I'm doing this now is because it's going to be bigger than I want it. Okay, that's not too bad. It's going to be bigger than I want it, and since I have to use the black paint to touch up spots, be able to further delineate the white swoop thing. I got it way down, way too far there. See, this side came out okay. Replicating it on the other side, that's where I should probably have a mirror. I think it's up too high. No, maybe not. When I get the black paint out, then I'll be able to recontour this. And get this even on the top. It's like this little spot right there. Can't get the paint to go to it. There. So, to look at it from the back and the side. So that's actually not too bad. What I need to do with the black is just, even things out just a little bit. Here, the spot that I just made there. And then the spot back here, that shouldn't be that color at all. I'm going to minimize the amount of contact spots. Okay, let me take these off a sec. And turn off the light. I'm going to sit up straight. That's a thing. Find the two colors that I need to do the touching up on the armor and the neck. In terms of time, just 11. Okay. I thought I had gone longer than that. Up there. Here. Gunmetal. That's the color I used for the armor. And the neck was this color, NATO black. Yeah. Yep, cup of coffee here. I'm going to fix the armor first, because that was painted much earlier, and the ivory will be dry by now. So I'll put my head magnifiers back on again for that. Need just the tiniest little spot. Doesn't come out like a tiny little spot. That means I'm going to get like this huge blob. And it's plugged up. I need an unplugger thing. There we go. Yep. Okay, switch these out again. Put these back on again. And attempt to find the spots that I messed up on the armor. Here, that could use a little evening out. Evening out. Yeah, this spot is going to have an evening out. It's pretty, yeah. That's the kind of thing they would make a joke about on George of the Jungle, an old 60s cartoon. Tells you the kind of highly sophisticated humor I grew up with. Back here, where I got the boundary between the feathers and the armor not good. Good. The challenge for me doing this painting is I'm very right-handed, and being very right-handed means just reaching spots becomes, it'd be nice to be able to just reach in with some accuracy from the other direction, but we can't do that, so it means I have to rotate the thing in such a way so I can get the brush there in the one direction angles, so to speak, that I can do it. Guess that'll be okay. The armor is now adequate. The NATO black on the neck. Well, before I do that, I'm going to let it dry for just a little bit longer. And while I'm letting it dry, I'm going to select colors for the bags. Gives me another opportunity to take these off and have another sip of coffee. Yeah. What colors can I make the bags? The goose is all sort of brown and black, so I don't want them to be too bright. Hugely glaringly bright. On the other hand, this is a bard, apparently, so there should be some flashiness to it. Oh, yeah, I might as well show you what I'm looking at. This is my, you've seen this before, my highly sophisticated color chart of, how can you tell what color the paint really is? You can't look at it when it's dry, and you can't look at the bottle cap. So, everybody does this, probably not as messily as I did. Purple might not be bad. I'm thinking those bags could be purple. I think I might use like purple and heavy violet. Do this for like the crescent shape. Yeah, right. The crescent shaped one, and this one for the other one. I know purple's among the two fans that I have, I guess. Pink and purple are kind of favorites. I'm not sure I want to use pink. No doubt it's disappointing somebody. Some glossy pink. Glossy pink would be kind of interesting. I was almost tempted to use glossy pink on the loot. That'd be kind of fun, wouldn't it? I'm looking for something else. I thought I had another sheet of colors, but I guess not. Yeah, so I'm going to pull out the purple and the heavy violet and use those for the bags. I don't know what I'm going to do with the loot. That'll just have to wait. Oh yeah, there was a spot. Game color black. With two blacks. One is matte and the other is glossy. There. There was a spot that needed to be touched up. Just a tiny spot, so I'm going to attempt to find that spot again. I'm not even going to squeeze any out because I just need like a dot. There it is. Dot. See the white spot? No, the white spot's gone. I spent a lot of time. When was it? Tuesday? I think it was Tuesday. I came down here, and I think all but like 4 colors of paint were out of these holders that we have that I've shown a couple of times, and maybe I'll take some time later to show them again and put them all away. So now I'm trying to get into the habit of, after I use a color, if I'm done with it, like I hope to be done with the glossy black, that I don't need it again, that I put it away so that I don't end up with like 45 vials of paint scattered all over the work surface here, where there actually really isn't any room. Let me get this stirred up. This paint tends to settle. That is to say that the pigment settles out of the solvent pretty significantly. So I got this old vortex spinner thing here that vibrates and shakes the little bottles and stirs up the paint in a way that's better than shaking it by hand. But I shake it by hand a little bit anyway, because, it just shake up the paint. Okay, I have to put these on because I have to see what I'm doing. What I'm doing now is fixing the goose mark. I'm kind of just evening out some of the edges, cleaning up under the chin, fixing the thing in the back there, trying to make it look as symmetric as I can. Take a lot of paint, and I just have to be real cautious, though. Thing here is that I'm coming from black onto black, so it's really hard to see the tip of the brush. That side looks good. I'm going to fix under the chin here. The paint is dry enough to touch, which is good, because I've just been grabbing it. Sort of managed to get this lighting just right, so I actually can see the tip of the brush. I was thinking, oh, that one is really poorly done. No, it's not poorly done. It shouldn't be there at all. That was the big oops. I bashed the back of the head with the white paint. I managed to get the white paint on there pretty well, and not managing to get the black paint back. Okay. Well, what's on the top of its head? They're perfectly symmetric, but you don't see the both sides. So I think I got the goose, the goose thing here. The distinctive goose mark. I think I got that pretty well. Pretty okay. A little bit ragged on the chin here. Let me see if I can fix that. So I'm going to call that a success. I think I captured that okay. It's not bad. So I'm going to lay that down, clean this off, and put this away because I am hoping I don't need it again. And then, let's see. Yeah, I was going to use purple on the bags. Just, why not? Because. So I think how this is going to work is that I'm going to paint the bags, and that will take me up more or less to where I normally take a break. It'll either be a little longer or a little shorter, depending on how the application of the purple goes. And then I will take a break, and then after the break, I will the greens and blues. Three purple. Up here with the reds. Yeah, okay. So there's purple. It says so it must be. And I wanted to then use heavy violet for the other one. The intermediate color is royal purple. But this is a lute playing bard. Doesn't deserve royalty colors, I guess. So, let me paint the crescent one first. Give this a good stir. So after break, I'm going to try the dry brushing thing to try to make it look like it's got brown feathers, And I guess, if it doesn't work, I got a bunch of ivory paint and I'll just repaint it and try again. And if it doesn't work, I'll try it again until eventually there'll be so much paint on there you won't be able to tell that there's feathers at all. But at least the head looks like a goose head now. That's magnified again. Giant head. Okay, well, the idea here is to get this on the bag and not on anything else. So let's see how it goes. To this bag. There They're actually kind of hard to reach. Okay. I was focused on the tail and not on the bag. Depth of field is not a thing that's happening here right now. Camera. That was, I had to look up to see. That was really kind of a surprise. Usually when I'm doing something like this, as I'm painting away, being very quiet because I'm trying to get the line just right, then I'm not on camera. Putting in to get the line just right doesn't even appear on relaxing painting. It's just something I'm talking about. In this case, not only not talking about it, paint right. The bottom of this bag is not that well defined. It. Put up in here. Top of the leg there. To I find all the spots that weren't painted that I thought were. Okay. Nobody's going to see that spot, so I'm going to paint it. Nope, I didn't get it on anything else. There's a spot that didn't get covered in the ivory. Weird. To do a little ivory touching up before I do the dry brushing attempt. Okay, well, right at the tip of this bag, it looks like it's not quite perfectly defined, but there. I think the purple looks okay. Otherwise, you know, it's a good color. You can see it, but it's not too ostentatious. Paint the other bag. The much darker color, darker purple. I could paint it the same purple, but they shouldn't match, I don't think. They shouldn't be the same. This one's got like a latch on it and a little buckle that theoretically at least should have some metallic paint on it to show that it's got a buckle. I'm not sure I'm going to bother with that. You know, if this ever shows up anywhere on our stream, on our Dungeons and Dragons painting, Dungeons and Dragons campaign stream or show, no one's going to see it. It's just an invisible thing. So there's every opportunity to make a mess of it. that I can avoid by simply not trying. This is a nice color. The other purple's redder, this one's bluer. Surprise. Color works out. I'm trying to get the edge of this bag. I don't know if I went too far. This is one of those things, like, from this angle it looks fine, but when I rotate it, it might not look okay. But it does. It looks okay, at least certainly at this distance. Now this has got some straps that go all the way up to here that are raised up above the surface. So that's the back of the lute. So that little OO, that's not a problem because the back of the lute isn't painted yet. That's kind of a nice color. I like that. So it's got some purple things. I wonder if the lute should be... You know, I really am tempted to paint it pink. There's no reason not to. And I know that who would like it to be painted pink. I could paint it pink and they've even got a glossy pink. And then I could try to get the little embellishments on there. The top of it didn't get printed very well, but who's going to notice that? I'm wondering, you know, I'm thinking, even though this now has 6 appendages when it really should just have 4, you know, the wings and the feet, if the claws probably need to be painted the glossy black, just like here. Okay, so before I paint the lute, I'm going to paint that glossy black color. But I am yeah, I might have to paint in between the fingers there somehow. I might do that first and then paint the glossy. Yeah, I think I'm going to paint the lute pink. And yeah, it is going to be pink. So I've done a glossy pink. But no, I don't want it. The glossy might not cover very well. It's kind of, the glossy paints are kind of gelatinous. They're not like flat. I've used the pink before, the flat pink, and it works okay. So it's getting close, not close to break time, but what I can do is I can do some ivory touch-up. I found a couple of spots that weren't covered. There's just spots in the base coat that it's just annoying that there's little spots like that. But sometimes I found that when painting a textured surface like these wings, or a large surface, sometimes like some of the dungeon tiles, that the paint, they're not exactly bubbles, but as it dries it shrinks and it pulls away from some spots and then leaves dots, these little dots of unpainted area, which probably after the brown dry brushing probably won't show this one will, though. That's a really big spot. Tail is left unpainted at this point because that's the place I can grab it. It's just a little too early to take. I mean, it'd be a really early break. So what I'm going to do, it's a good idea or not, I'll keep this brush out because I might need to use it and get your brush is I'm going to get the pink paint out. Pink. You can tell it's pink because it says pink on it. That. But as I said, the allergens really kicked up in a very unpleasant way the last couple of days. I'm going to paint the loot pink. If it turns out to look really awful, I can be painted, right? Can always do that. Yeah. So, and if it looks okay, well then, there it is. If you're a goose playing a lute, why wouldn't it be pink? There's stupid details on this, like the strings and stuff. I'm not sure how that's gonna go. I'll have to give it a go. I'll have to make an effort at it, attempt. Start on the back because that's just the worst spot. Make an effort to not paint the fingers. Tuning knobs on it. I'm going to paint everything pink. And things like these little tuning knobs, those will just get painted over. For some reason, I think this actually might work out and look okay. Shouldn't. Okay, my hand isn't steady. Come on, hand. Get steady. The strings to show later. I want the pink paint has to go down between the strings, so that's pink underneath. I hope it doesn't cover up texture of the strings too much. I'm not sure how it will get those done. Probably not very well. Make an effort at it anyway, because the strings will need to show. Do another sort of try a dry brush sort of thing, as opposed to trying to touch them up with a detail brush. No. make an effort to get the back of the lute painted. It isn't going to show until it does, right? Doesn't really touch anything else. Usually when I'm painting something like this, I paint the easy part first. And then I say, why didn't I just paint the hardest part first, right? So this time I'm trying to make the decision to paint the hardest part first, and then do the easier part. See. After I get this pink on, I am going to take a break and an antihistamine probably, so that I don't keep sneezing and snuffling for the entire rest of the stream. I think pink is the right color for the lute, especially for this particular lute player, Goose. Oh, there was an oops. Got some pink paint on the armor. Somehow I managed to bump that. To pull that again and touch that up. That might be the kind of thing I try to touch up right away while I'm remembering that it's there, as opposed to, oh, I'm done, and oh, no, I'm not done. You know, that kind of thing. I thought it was done, except for these spots that need to be all touched up, because they need to be touched up. There's a spot there, too. They didn't touch, but apparently they did. That other spot, I'm not sure if it's invisible. You know. So, tiny touch of ivory on that as well. Well, those are going to be painted black, so never mind. Sorry, I got some pink paint on the finger there. But remember that the finger is going to be painted glossy black, so I don't need to retouch it. See how this pink paint dries, whether like the detail and some little embellishment on there, whether that shows through the paint after it dries. The strings, I don't know, we'll see. Yeah, it didn't need to be there. The finger didn't matter, the knee does. Okay, I'm just going to rotate this. See if I missed any spots. There's a couple here and there. After that dries, I'll decide what to do with the strings and the decoration on the front of the loop. You know, there's some spots without paint. Whether they're going to be visible or not, that one might be. I think pink works. I think pink works with this goose. That's unpainted or a shadow. Shadow. Well, if anybody sees it, it'll look like a shadow. Okay. Before I take a break, I need to do some little touching up, right? I need to get the pink out of the brush. This brush is going to need a alcohol bath to get it clean enough. Pink paint kind of piled up around the base of the bristles here. But I'm going to do this real quickly. What I'm noticing is get rid of the pink on there. And then there's a spot on the armor that I need to fix. And that was, since I put it carefully away, spot is, it's on the shoulder right up front. Fix that so that the weird little touching up spots that need to be touched up are touched up before break. Okay, so put this away again. And I'm going to put the purple ones away. If I can remember where they went. They are. I'll put these away because I had pledged to do cleaning up as I go. So there. I'm keeping out the pink for the moment and the ivory because those might be needed on an emergency basis to fix some things. I got some denatured alcohol here, and this is used for cleaning a brush that needs to be cleaned a little better than the water does. So a little bit more effective solvent. And I could use it, but I don't, like, I've got this container here for washing brushes, and since it's acrylic, water works really pretty well. I don't need an open container of denatured alcohol sitting there like that. An open container of water, that's just not the problem. But an open container of this, fumes and spill hazards and all sorts of other stuff. Just don't need it. Okay, there. I think this is pretty clean now. Cap it up so as not to break it. So the situation here is that the next step is going to be this kind of multi-layered rounds dry brushing to try to get this kind of look, lighter to dark. Not on the tail, because that's where I'm holding it, but on the rest of it. And that is something I need to try to do after break. And what I want is a brush kind of like this It's got really nice kind of stiff bristles, and it's wide. And I've used this before for dry brushing. I'll probably try that again. I'm not sure what else I've got that could work. I mean, this bigger brush works, but it's because it's got a nice big surface area, and it can be a little bit stiff. But I'll keep it out because I might want to try it like on the wings where there's just a whole lot of it. I've got some other wider bristled brushes, but they tend to be too soft, and if they're too soft, they hold too much paint, and then instead of just touching the surface, it drifts down in. Yeah, I've done the dry brushing a couple of times, and well, anyway, you can see it like here on this guy. You know, like some of it, like back here, those two legs kind of worked out pretty well, but then there was a blot there where there was just too much paint. You know, I'm just leaving it because whatever. And here too, you can see it went pretty well, but back here, not too much. And it all comes down to having no paint on the brush, and then just barely touching the surface, not ever pushing down onto the surface. And it should work pretty well on the wings where there's a lot of feather texture, maybe even the arms. I don't know how it's going to look on the legs. Those are not that well textured. So I'm just going to try to shade them. The legs are kind of dark anyway, you know, so obviously these legs are way bigger than a real goose leg. We'll see how this all goes. Anyway, I'm liking the pink loot. I'm gonna paint the strings. There's a little bit of embellishment here that I'm gonna try to pick out. You know, just touch it a little bit, maybe even with a fine felt tip pen as opposed to a brush. And then the strings and these little knob things here. Yeah, I'm gonna make the strings. I'll probably use maybe the same color as the armor, maybe even black. I'm not sure. For the embellishments, I don't know. I might just go with this purple. Carry this purple through onto the loot. Although I could use like brass on it. I might do that. I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try touching that as much as I can with brass. We could use purple on these little tuning knobs. Anyway, the loot can wait. I need to paint the wings and the legs and stuff with these browns. That'll be the next bit. So I will be back in about half an hour and continue working on the goose and see how it goes. Thanks for watching so far. Always appreciate it. If you'd like to, please become a follower. If you catch us on YouTube, I think you can become a sponsor. And if you really like Dice and Dungeons, go to patreon.com/diceanddungeons, and you can become a patron. Not only of this relaxing painting, which is not the main deal. The main deal is our Dungeons and Dragons show, which streams on Twitch on Sundays at 2. And you can catch episodes on YouTube or as a podcast. Please do that, because Dice and Dungeons is all about the Dungeons and Dragons campaign and the D&D show. So please watch that. That would be terrific if you could and would. And I'll explain after the break, when I chat about something or other while I'm failing at dry brushing, about how this all happened. Because, you know, like every stream or so, I try to tell that story. But I'll be back in about a half an hour. Thanks for watching so far, and we'll see how the goose goes later. You probably weren't sure if I was coming back or not, and I wasn't either. But I got things working again. And yeah, I guess it's time to try to do some brown painting on the thing here. Yeah. What can I say? Break took longer than usual, because it always does. Always takes longer than usual. And so now it's time to do more relaxing painting with Dyson Dungeons, where I will be making an effort to make this look goosey. And I'm just looking at the wings here, and it looks like they go from lighter to darker. Like the very tips of the wings here are the darkest. So, but there's brown everywhere on the wings. It's only on the back and the front, which are in this case covered by the armor, so you can't really even see them. That the kind of beige color stays, giving us a good stirring because it's been setting for a very long time. Haven't used this one in some time. And then I'll do the superstitious behavior. Sorry, I'm just itchy eyes and everything today. It is, yeah, bad allergy day. Use just this little paper towel here to help brush the brush drying thing. Whatever, yeah. So with my understanding with dry brushing is that you want to have almost no paint on the brush. And when I've done it in the past, that's when it works the best. And it's possible to always put more paint on. Okay, what's happening here? I didn't expect this. It's when I've done this in the past, okay, it's okay, but I'm not sure. Is that yeah, okay, what I need to do, I wasn't planning on this, but I need to, is that the base coat, when I've done this in the past, hasn't been that critical. Okay, the dry brushing part's actually working okay. Right, you can see that it's picking up the tops of the feathers. But what isn't working very well is that the beige paint underneath the ivory paint didn't cover the gray. And that usually doesn't make any difference, but it is making a difference here because now it's looking like this is over gray and not over the cream color. So that's really kind of disappointing because I thought I would be moving along. This brush is working okay. I mean, the whole thing is kind of working okay, but it doesn't look good because the base coat is not thick enough. I mean, it didn't cover all the way. So what I'm going to do is put a second coat on. There's no, I don't see that there's an option here. So I'm going to second coat this, which is going to take a while, and then maybe I'll mess around some with the lute if there's still time. So yeah, I'm going to second coat this because it will look okay. You can see there's some spots like here and here where the where the base coat is adequate, but in other places it's just brown over gray, and I wanted brown over this ivory color. Kind of the downside of using the gray primer. I think I'm going to get myself a can of white primer. I need that anyway for the Apollo, because that's going to be painted a light color, and it'll be hard to do over gray primer. What brush did I use? Use a very big brush. Oh, this one. So sorry about that. Delay, but you can see the unevenness, and it turns out that makes a big difference. So I'm back to painting nooks and crannies. Second coat covers much. I mean, you can just see that it's covering pretty well, and it will look a lot better. But it probably means that I'm not going to be getting much dry brushing done today, because this needs to dry pretty thoroughly before I start doing that. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. And I need to do it down here on the legs too, because those need to be nice and creamy white in order for the overlay of the brown to work. Sometimes these things happen, you think that you can get away with something, that'll look okay, and then it doesn't. And then, well, one of the magics of paint is that usually, not always, but usually it's possible to cover one's, I don't call it a mistake in this case, but impatience with more paint. I'm painting that wing where I did the dry brushing until the end, because I want the brown to dry so it doesn't bleed through. Yeah, I know I used dry brushing, so it was already pretty dry, but nonetheless. So I'll need to remember this when I do the tail. When I eventually get around to doing the tail, which is where I'm holding it, that it needs 2 coats. And, it's pretty obvious right off the bat. It's not really a bat right off the bird. I mean, it's not bat wings. And it's immediately obvious that the second coat, especially getting down into the nooks and crannies, it's not so much at the surface, but it's little bits in between that need to be white, especially the low spots. That the second coat. They're in the loose upstairs. Okay, I'm assuming that means that the groceries are here. I think you can't hear this stuff. I think a lot of this I'm not sure. If this microphone filters out a lot of stuff. I think it does. I know that on the studio, when we do our Dungeons and Dragons show, that the microphones are set up there to filter out a lot of extraneous sounds, everything but our voices, essentially. I think this one does too. I think Alexa set it up that way. Yeah, see, when it's against the gray, it just looks dirty, right? And it just makes it look dirty, as opposed to like brown, like this nice brown color, which is actually the color of the brown paint. Yeah, second coat. And after I finish this, it has to dry before I can attempt the dry brushing again. Dry on dry. Yeah. Especially this wing. This wing is especially gray. Particularly gray. So it looked really ugly. I was just really surprised. I thought, that it might look okay. But it didn't. So I'm putting lots of ivory paint on here to make sure it's covered pretty well. So I've got these 3 colors of brown here. I'm going to start with the lightest one, which you saw just before I covered it up. It has to be that color. It's the lightest one I've got, really. That's still brown without looking like sandy colored. And then be working toward a little darker near the tips of the wings. And I guess the legs too. The legs get fairly dark pretty quickly. But I'll start with the lighter brown and work toward the darker brown. That will be later because this needs to dry, and I'm putting it on fairly heavy, so it might take a while to dry. I might not get very much done here today because of that disappointment with the coverage. Well, this looks a lot nicer. I have to say that with the second coat on, it definitely is an improvement, and I should have thought of that. When I was looking at it even before the break, I could have taken some time to just real quickly, like this, put a second coat on, but I didn't. So that wasn't an oops as much as it was a mistake. I wouldn't do an oops button for this. I would do it would be one of those events which occurs when something happened that probably didn't need to or shouldn't have. Okay. I can do that. I'm going to keep that out just in case I need to. This is my dry brush dot spot here. Keep the ivory out for now, in case I need to do some touching up. And what I'm going to do next, since there's a lot of time left on the stream here. I've got almost an hour. I'm not sure I'll go the whole hour today because, we'll just see how things go. I'm going to paint they really shouldn't be here because this bird now has 6 appendages instead of just 2. Okay. But it's got arms in addition to the wings. I am touching that there. Jeez. That was an oops. Stupid oops. The fingers are claws, just like the feet. Okay? I mean, they just are, because that's how this bird is. So I'm going to find the glossy black paint again, which I thought I had taken out a little earlier. Really thought I had gotten it out. No, I did. And then I put it away again. I have to find out which one it is. The glossy one. The glossy one is the game color as opposed to the model color. Oranges. I put all these paints away so that I could find them. Well, it wasn't so much that I could find them. It was more that they weren't in the way. Here, this. So I'm going to be painting the claws, the hand claws, just like the feet claws. Is that something I can do while I'm waiting for the ivory paint to dry? Yeah, put my head magnifiers back on again because I need to do this without getting it onto the pink if I can pull that off. The sniffles are going to get progressively worse. They always do after break. It always ends up feeling like a little bit colder down here after break than it does before. Stripping because of this allergy stuff. So I'm going to apologize in advance for snuffling. Yeah. So they end where, I mean, these start where the feathers end here. An uneven boundary here with the feathers. Start putting the brown on. It's supposed to be getting darker as it gets closer to the claws. How about those? To stay consistent with the apparent appearance of the goose. The claws are this glossy black color. Okay, that's one. We'll do the other hand. On the other hand. Done the other hand. You must be going toxic when I start doing stuff like that. Highly detailed fingers. Highly detailed, non-existent goose fingers. Bigger.
At least I just dropped it a little bit. Just didn't fall very far, so nothing broke off. That was a good thing. As predicted, there is snuffling going on here. In some ways, the highly detailed characteristics of these models are admirable. In others, it's like, really, why? The designer did this intentionally to make the painting difficult. I know that's not the case, but for me, sometimes it just feels like that because, it's hard to do. This is hard for me to do. My hand is not as steady as I like it. I know, it's just because I'm holding it so kind of tensely. It's another one of those, why is the hardest part there? Let me clean the brush. I'm muttering to myself because its palm curls around and it's really hard. It's really hard to reach in there and get it painted. That'll never be seen. The tips of the fingers will be. It is to be white. So I definitely need to look at it from the very tip top. And get the tips of those fingers painted. There's probably some lute players out there who say you'd never grab, you wouldn't hold the strings like that on the lute. And that's probably true. But part of it's my fault, is that I broke one of these fingers. And I repaired it pretty well, because even looking at it and knowing that I broke one of them, I can't really see where it's broken. But it probably exaggerates to some extent the non-realistic holding of the chord that it's playing, or tune that it's playing on the lute here. It's just white spots where they shouldn't be here. Needed to clean the brush and get some fresh paint to get it to cover. Get it to the other side, and the inside of the palm again there. It's just I'm just going to say it's unlikely that anyone's ever going to see anything down there. Okay, considering that some of these a little bit, like broken, and there's some little spots where there's excess plastic and things, I think that came out okay. You can see the individual and distinct fingers on the loot. Let me look around, make sure I haven't really missed any spots. Looking at the detail there. And I'm saying to myself, yeah, why not? Why not try to paint some of the embellishments on the loot? And then I'm seeing some spots, I think spots that didn't get covered with the ivory paint. I wonder if there's still some left. Yeah. There's a big spot right on the knee there. Weird, huh? There's a spot on the wing. There's like a bristle or something sticking off the end of that. So since I've got this brush out and the paint's still alive, I'm going to do some itsy-bitsy touching up on the second coat of the base color. And then there's spots like where there were like little bubbles or something. Yeah, flaws that will be absolutely invisible at the distance at which this will be viewed if it ever shows up on our stream. Okay, well, I got the claws, the hand claws, the fifth and sixth appendage claws done. Now I'm going to probably mess up the front of the loop by attempting to paint. There's this little highlight here. It's just like a design that's built onto the front of the loop that I'm going to attempt to paint brass. I don't know how successful I'll be. We'll find out. Okay, well, this paper towel is going to sacrifice itself a little bit because my nose is dripping badly. Okay, put the black paint away and then try to find it again later. There it is. And brass. It's one of these metallics. That's gold. Gold would work, but won't show quite as well. Bright brass. Why not? And brass. I haven't used this bright brass in ages. Needs a lot of stirring. Let's just mix it up. Gives me an excuse to spend some time doing nothing but letting the vortex thing vibrate. So the loot looks pretty pink, you know. I'm hoping this brass, the brass embellishment on here, I'm hoping I can kind of pull that off. I might need to go back and forth, you know, to get the lines straight with some pink and then brass and then pink again and build the paint up so much that none of the detail shows. And then I have to figure out what to do with the strings. And then these tuning knobs, those definitely need to be not pink. I don't know if I can make them this brass. Maybe I'm going to make them brass and see how it looks. If it doesn't look good, I can always paint over them. They're just tiny little dots, basically. So I know this is invisible to you. In fact, it's invisible to me unless I put the head magnifiers on. But there's just this little raised detail on the bottom of the loot. It's just a raised line that I'm going to attempt to paint with the brass. Okay. And had some success doing this kind of thing in the past on the submarine. And see how it works. See how runny this is. It might be a good thing. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to try. Just see what happens here. It kind of ran down into the inside a little bit. But I think that looks, actually the way it looks is kind of okay. I might just not touch up very much. I might just leave it. But you can see the little shininess on there. It looks kind of okay. And then there was an attempt to have a little embellishment up here too, but it didn't print very well. So it's going to kind of put a little bit of brass paint on where it's raised up. Because it's nice and shiny, I can paint these that color too. This is very, very indistinct. So I'm going to try to just freehand this. There's like a V-shaped thing here. Back end of this. Get a bit of just cover up the throw it a little bit. Okay. I think that looks okay. I don't know how well it shows there, but it shows pretty well here. Actually, what I'm really tempted to do, I'm tempted, neat. I am going to do this. Is I'm going to put a band, the edge of it. I'm going to brassify the edge, the outside edge. Brassify. It's a technical term for putting some brass paint on it. Didn't show. Okay. That was an oops. The brush slipped. A bit harder on the top because it didn't print perfectly smoothly. This makes it a little fancier, you know? Let's make it fancy. Putting this tiny edge of brass around the outside. Suddenly had a thought. I should tell them. Okay. It's too bad Who's not watching today. Who is not, he's not in chat. But Who might actually like this. So in our D&D campaign, in our show, Who plays Nines, a Tabaxi Bard. And the Tabaxi Bard had been cursed and transformed into a badger. So now we have a badger bard. And its nemesis, who's Nines' nemesis, is a supposed musician, a very famous musician called The Voice. That's very clever, isn't it? Not at all derivative. So what if The Voice is also cursed? For a reason, why not? Retribution, some deity of some sort took up Nine's cause. And The Voice was cursed and transformed into a dire goose. And this would be what The Voice is turned into. That would be a thing. Okay, now I need to somehow do the strings. And the strings are actually super fine dry brushing. Super duper, completely amazingly dry brushed somehow. This may or may not work. I could do them in black. I could try a metallic. I want to try, I'm not going to use the same color as the armor. Or maybe I will. That would show, I think, pretty well. The gunmetal, I also have, I have some really nice metallic colors, but they, I've got silver chainmail. I'm going to try chainmail silver. This could end in tears. I have these metallics that are made for airbrushing onto model airplanes, which are really good, but they're very thin because they're made for airbrushing. And so they won't, I just don't think they'll work for the dry brushing on the strings here. I'm going to use the other little brush, not this one. Where did my other good little brush go? There it is. I'm going to use this one. It might work a little better. I'm not sure. If this doesn't work, then I'll just put more pink paint on it and just keep going back and forth until the strings become invisible altogether. Here's my dry brush paper towel. Almost worked. This is okay. What happened up here is I'm brushing down. Is I got it too high up. And what I should do is get the pink paint out and touch that up a little bit. Around here, it's actually not too bad. It actually looks okay. So I'm going to do that and get a little bit of pink. Just fix the top there where the paint went up too high. I'd like to get a little more right there. Okay, so it kind of gives the impression of the strings. I think it doesn't look too bad. So I really need a little more in here though. Just there. So I'm going to call this lute a success. It's kind of weird, but you know, the strings, you can see where the strings are and the brass embellishments and stuff, especially if the light hits it right. So I'm okay with that. I can put this away, the brass away, get the pink back out. I just need a tiny dot of pink. I'm going to use the same brush because it's out. It's clean. It's the kind of infinitely small detail that it'll be totally invisible to anyone who looks at it. So this constant compromise between, am I trying to make a display level model, which I'm not, because I'm not that good at it, or something that'll just look okay on screen, which is really what it is. Anyway, that's how it ended up. So I still have time left in the stream. My nose is running really badly here. I will borrow yet more. Be right back. Yeah. So you get to watch me do that. I'm going to go back to trying to dry brush again. Now that the stuff is dried sufficiently. It's got to look better than it did before because it looked terrible. So give this another stir. Get my yuck. Sorry. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of drainage here. Well, I'll see how long I can go before I really am annoying. Yeah, this was my, let's see if we can dry brush. It definitely looks better. You can see that this actually kind of looks like that. I'm getting some goosiness in here. The way the goosiness is going to work is that this color goes on first. catching the tops of the feathers. And then it'll get progressively darker near the wing tips. This is tedious. Given the texturing of the print and the darker undercoat, I mean not the darker undercoat, but the more complete undercoat. It's starting to look not too bad. Okay, well, I can always do more later. I keep telling myself you can put more on, can't take it off. Discovering it's important to go in both directions. Otherwise, one gets directional dry brushing. It can look kind of weird. I'm trying to get it, I'm getting it near the tips of the wings, even though I'll be using a darker color on there later. Just, trying to get some sense of uniformity here. Yeah, that's looking kind of, it's looking kind of goosey enough. Do the fronts. This is going to work on the arms and the legs. I guess I'll find out sooner or later. This brush might not be the best for that. I'm not sure. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to end it a little early. Yep, I'm going to end a little early. I'm going to end just after I finish dry brushing this wing. Because family. And there isn't that much more I can do anyway after this. You know, I can do the arms and legs, but I think I want to wait on those anyway, because I'm really not sure how that's going to work. So maybe it's a good thing for me to end the stream today with a modest success, which is to say that at least the fronts of the wings look kind of like that, like goosey wings. And then I'll do the shading starting back here, and then dark tips on the ends of the feathers. With the legs and the arms, yeah, that's a different story. And I'll save that for Monday. So we come back to the goose on Monday. But yeah, so far I'd have to say that the loot came out okay. The goose look around the goose neck came out okay. And the wings are not bad. They're coming along okay as well. So I need to go upstairs and end just a little bit early. So thanks for everybody who has joined today or watches this on YouTube later. I will be returning on Monday, more or less 10, to continue working on and hopefully finishing up the lute playing dire goose. Okay, so those of you who get a weekend, have a good weekend. If you don't get a weekend, I hope that when you do get your weekend, that's a good one. In the meantime, I will be signing off, and see you Monday, more or less at 10 Eastern Time, with more relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons. Thanks, everybody.